Alright, we're starting another episode of Let's Talk About Shit You Wanna Know. And I've got a couple more questions. Now you gotta bear with me, I literally just woke up. Now I am wearing a shirt for this video, but whether or not I'm wearing pants and underwear is a whole different story. Alright, let's go on to the first question. Derek Demore says, what is ATP? ATP is adenosine triphosphate. It's essentially three little phosphate groups that your body uses for energy. It's very important. So adenosine triphosphate, when your body or a cell needs energy, will break off one of these phosphate bonds and create adenosine diphosphate. It makes the energy by breaking the phosphate groups. Now when it needs to store more energy, it'll take a phosphate and it'll add it right back onto the adenosine diphosphate and create ATP again. It's a never-ending cycle. It is probably one of the most intense, if not the most intense cycle in your body. It is so intense and important that every single cell in your body uses this cycle, the ATP cycle. And it's very fucking intense. It happens several thousand times a second. So it's very important. That is what ATP is. So, Connor Creech says, I've heard there are many health benefits to sex. What are they, and do you get the same benefits through masturbation? So, sex does offer a lot of health benefits. So for one, it's fun. Like, come on now. Two, cardio. Come on, you're a lifter, man. So it's also a natural pain reliever, a fever reducer. It promotes heart health and can lower your blood pressure. So go on and get it in, man. And so, do you get the same benefits through masturbation? So one, you're promoting a healthy colon, and you're training grip strength. And you're training grip strength, but don't grip it like you're gonna rip it. So go ahead and bait on. And if you're one of those religious people, as they say, go ahead and shake hands with the devil. It's healthy. You should be doing it and promote a healthy prostate. So let's go on to the next question. Channing says, what is the best way to get started? Well, Channing, the best way to get started is to go in informed. If you go in informed and knowledgeable, you can maximize your potential, you decrease your risk for injury, you can make sure you're doing things properly and actually seeing results. And then this is a three-part answer. So that's one of them. You want to go in knowledgeable and informed because that's kind of how you want to approach life. You don't want to go in and half-ass it and do it wrong and see nothing for all your work. So the other two parts go hand in hand. You want consistency and patience. You can't have consistency without the patience. You can't have the patience without the consistency. Because it's not a fast process. It is a terribly slow process as much as it sucks. And you have to be diligent and consistent with it. So since it's a slow process, you have to stick with it. And that's why you need the patience, but you also need the consistency to continue doing it over and over and over, day in and day out, and stick with the plan. So if you have a goal, make a plan for your goal and stick to it. Oftentimes, people quit before they see the results, and this is because they don't have the patience. So patience and consistency and knowledge is your key. Just don't give up. Stay in a straight line. You'll get there, as long as you do it properly with your knowledge. So we have another Connor. He said, if you consume fats together with carbs, does only one of the two get utilized as an energy source while the other gets stored as energy in the form of adipose tissue? No. No. So if you're scared of storing energy in your adipose tissue, or essentially if you're scared of storing fat, just don't go in a surplus. You can go maintenance or a deficit. But for example, like even if you were in a surplus, that wouldn't necessarily mean that like one has to go for energy and the other one has to go for for fat or whatever. That's just not, because there's so many different roles that these things play in your body. For example, fats promote a healthy hormone balance. That's why you don't want to have too little fat. You need healthy fats. You need fat in your diet. And, for example, cells in your body have a lipid layer. What is a lipid? It's a fancy way of saying fat. So cholesterol, that's a fat. You need fat in your diet. You need carbs in your diet. Well, I mean, one of my last videos said some people don't need it because they just don't perform well with it. But just because you're consuming both doesn't mean that one of them isn't being used. You're using both. Your body needs both of them. That's why it's in your diet. Caleb Arnold says, yo, what's the deal with breakfast and is it really important? Honestly, it's up to you. It's completely dependent on you. So I always say that macro ratios and calorie intake are more important than meal timing. So not everyone eats breakfast. I personally do because I just went 6 to 8 to 9, 10 hours without eating, and I view my body kind of like a car. My tank is now on E. I just used everything up. Granted, I was sleeping, didn't use too much energy, but I just spent that long burning what little left I had in the tank. I like to refill the tank and just get started and coast throughout the day. So it's dependent on you. You don't have to do that. Some people like a light breakfast. Some people like a huge breakfast. I'm one of those people that like a big ass breakfast. But some people practice intermittent fasting and do just fine. So honestly, pick whatever fits your lifestyle. If you like breakfast, eat breakfast. Like, do you like breakfast? Do you like breakfast foods? If you do, then eat some breakfast. Who cares? Just make it fit. Alright, Ryan Parkinson says, thoughts on flexibility. For me, I felt the most fit when I was flexible, but I want to hear your thoughts on your priorities. So, don't neglect flexibility. It's one of my priorities. So I've got like a mild case of hypermobility, so I'm going to say I am more lax than other people with it, but that doesn't mean I neglect it. So one, you're preventing yourself from injuries. It's important. You're increasing blood flow, and increased blood flow is very good when you want overall health to a certain extent. I'm not saying like you want high blood pressure or anything, but when you increase blood flow to certain areas of your body, you're promoting recovery, things like that. You're forcing nutrients over there. And flexibility actually increases your strength and growth. So more than likely, when you were flexible, you probably were at your most fit. You don't see very many like yoga instructors that are like completely certified, super zen, keep their diet in check, and super flexible. They may not do like strength training or anything like that, but they're flexible and they're actually pretty strong. A lot of them are doing handstands, things like that, full body plank that like their legs aren't touching the floor. That takes a good amount of strength, and they've got all this flexibility and all that stuff like that. They're pretty fit. Those are fit people, and some of them are ripped. So don't neglect your flexibility. It's important. I think if you want to be strong, if you want to be healthy, if you want to be big, you need to be flexible. You'd be surprised how many of these giant 280-pound bodybuilders can do the splits. Like, they're flexible. You want to be flexible. So don't neglect your flexibility. It will promote your overall fitness level. And it looks like so far that is every question I have so far. I said so far like 6 times right there, so I'm just double checking real quick. If there are any more questions. No, that was it. So, send me questions, send me shit you want to talk about, and I will try to answer them. Also, instead of going back and editing the video or trying to change things out or trying to re-record the whole thing, I realized I made a mistake in my words in one of my answers. So, Connor Creech, I accidentally said it promotes a healthy colon. What I meant to say was prostate. So for anyone that caught that, please note that was mistaken. I used the wrong word. Prostate, colon, pretty easily confused. They don't sound the same, but same general area. You're working with your butthole here. So yeah, promotes a healthy prostate, not necessarily healthy colon. So little added tidbit that I forgot to add in and correct. Yeah, now we're done with this episode.